So the next two speakers pre-recorded, and one is in Europe and one is in Hong Kong. I think the one in Hong Kong is awake still at 12 o'clock, ready to answer questions. So if you have questions, pitch away. Both of them are involved in the digital world, and I'll let them explain what they do in their videos. But we see digitalization as a really important part of the future of our industry, more so with COVID. So we'll let it rip. Let's go.
Hello, my name is Darren. I'm CEO of Material Exchange, and I'm very pleased to be speaking, unfortunately not live, but recorded for the Transformers Foundation. So as CEO of Material Exchange, I work very extensively in helping move fashion forward in terms of digitalization. And Material Exchange is a B2B platform that helps digitize material data that's required by brands to work with their suppliers. And we work specifically with teams from sourcing, design, and compliance. And we've been developing Material Exchange very extensively for the footwear industry, but we're also growing significantly into apparel. Recently, we just announced a partnership with Kingpins on the denim side, which is really exciting for us. And I just want to show a few slides to show what Material Exchange is and how it works. So if you look at the industry as a whole, we see that there are three major problems. The first is around sustainability. Consumers are driving brands to be more sustainable and actually pressuring them into being more transparent into their supply chains and how they're sourcing materials and actually who they're sourcing from. And then we've seen that the industry as a whole, not just apparel, but also footwear, is becoming more consolidated. We're seeing that supply chains traditionally have been quite spread out, and brands have been looking to consolidate those supply chains and have them more concentrated to single locations. So if you think about tier ones as being the factories and tier twos being the material suppliers, the brands are now trying to reduce the complexities of connecting these pieces. And we've seen in particular with COVID that it's becoming more complicated to work with suppliers around the world, and actually meeting those suppliers is becoming more and more difficult. The industry as a whole has been moving to digitalization, 3D product creation, 2D design for products has been growing slowly. Of course, we had 2D first, but now we're moving more into 3D. And 3D is demanding higher quality digital materials. Those materials need to be represented in a good way, and they need to be accessible to the designers. So we've seen that digitalization is really moved forward, and it's becoming more and more important. And in particular, because of COVID, it actually is really growing in importance. So Material Exchange is a platform that digitizes that data. It helps brands work with suppliers all over the world. And we actually work to standardize the data to make sure that there is a consistent way that vendors or suppliers can input their material information. And we've worked with organizations like the GS1, who's the Global Standards Organization, to help make sure that those standards are defined and the suppliers can input data that is required for the brands to source their materials. Material Exchange itself we don't take transactions. We are a digital library, a library of information. And we have very powerful search capabilities to find the materials that actually the brands will be looking for. We started out very much focused on footwear, and we've grown the number of brands that we work with. In fact, we have about 31 brand groups, which equates to over 100 footwear brands. But we do also have apparel brands. One of our most important is a Bestseller Group, who are from Denmark. But we've also seen that there's been a massive growth in interest in digitalization for apparel because of COVID. So we are now starting to work with a lot more apparel brands. We have actually over 300 of the biggest suppliers in the world. Again, a lot on the footwear side. And actually, it says here we have 10,000 materials, but we now have 25,000 materials. We've seen a massive increase because of COVID. And we've also got a really healthy community of members from footwear and apparel industry that use the material exchange platform. We've built the platform with industry input. We work very closely with some of the leading PLM, product lifecycle management solutions, which are really important for managing data with product development. We also work very closely with the FDRA on footwear development side and the US FIA on the apparel side. We have partnerships with Adobe on the digitalization side. We have Clo on the 3D side, and of course, different sustainability organizations that we're working with. And we've seen that sustainability is becoming more and more important, and Material Exchange has added a significant number of partners in the past few months into our sustainable section of Material Exchange. We, as I mentioned, work very closely with the GS1, who help us define material standards, and these standards are actually published for the industry, and it helps the industry work to a core set of data for materials. We see that there are problems in the industry around collaboration, in particular because of COVID. It's becoming more and more complicated to work together. And Material Exchange really does help connect all the pieces together. It helps those designers work with the suppliers who may be on a different continent, a different time zone. We also have very, very strong data inside of Material Exchange, and we couldn't have done that without working with the GS1. And we also have information around the suppliers in terms of capabilities around sustainability and compliance. And this is becoming more and more important for sourcing materials. This is the material library, actually in its current form. We're working on a new version, which is going to be very different, but this is the foundation is still the same. It's a digital database of materials. And actually, end of August, perhaps latest beginning of September, we'll be launching a completely new platform, which we've been working on for the last 8 months. And we have 3D capabilities you can build in or actually put objects, or in this case, it's a sphere where you can drape a material, but we have the ability to upload different objects to apply materials, and the new platform will have far more extensive and fun things you can do on that front. We have a lot of attributes, as I mentioned, which are really important. And without these attributes, the designers, the sourcing and the compliance team couldn't find the right materials. And we have profiles for each of our suppliers. And in fact, actually, these QR codes are scannable, so the suppliers can use them at trade shows, if they are actually attending physical trade shows, to actually grab materials from that show and find more about the supplier. And we also have the certificates, and you can see if the certificates are still valid, which is very important on the compliance side. We didn't actually set about creating what we call a digital show. We've always been about a digital platform that connects into the brands, but we've seen that COVID has severely limited the possibility of doing physical shows. So now we actually have created a format of a digital show, and our first show will be launching on the 15th of July with the Northeast, Northwest footwear shows, which are traditionally the shows for Nike, Adidas, New Balance and other big brands. And we've developed a digital format that connects into our library, and we've actually tried to keep the show as realistic to the physical shows without having the touch and feel of the materials. You can actually go into the show, you can browse the suppliers by material types, and we even have a show floor that you can go in and virtually walk around and select which booth you want to look at. And then we have a showcase about each supplier and a video tour, and you can actually do live video chats with the suppliers during the show and after. And we've also built a 3D playground with a partner we're working with called Mercer, and you can actually go in and configure objects, and in this case it's a shoe, but of course if we do other shows for other like apparel, different apparel, then we can actually have different objects. And what's really exciting is that the foundation of Material Exchange has the data that's required for the brands to work with materials. But through our partnership with Kingpins, we are now going to develop a denim show which actually would build on the fantastic content that Kingpins have for the industry, but also have the suppliers' materials available through the material exchange platform and the showcase and all of the networking. So really excited. It's this is fresh, fresh announcement, but really excited to be working with Kingpins and really enjoying working with them so far, and looking forward to working more closely with them and the Transformers Foundation. So thank you very much for the time. And again, apologies that I couldn't be there. I will try my best to be there for the question sessions. And thank you very much again. Darren Glenister from Material Exchange.
Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in, and thank you to Transformers Foundation for having me again this year and here today. Today I'll be talking about digital denim. My name is Jorgen from Inkova, and first of all I'm going to make myself a little bit smaller here. So as I said, we'll be talking about digital denim, and I'll be laying out a practical strategy for industry change, and also how we see digitalization of the denim industry, at least the potential direction for it. So very quickly about Inkova and who we are. We are a digital consultancy and an agency, technically meaning that we solve problems and we also implement the solutions to those problems. We work specifically with denim companies around the world to create and deliver more value through branding, marketing and advertising, and also by being familiar with technology and being able to develop custom technologies. From a consultancy point of view, the way we look at problem solving is that we start from number one over here, where we start by looking at the current situation and what opportunities we see in this situation right now. We also understand the future desired state and try to envision how we want things to look like. And these are the two main things that I'll be talking about in the presentation today. More than that, further down, we also develop roadmaps for how we would like and how we should go towards achieving and getting to this future desired state. And we also work from an agency point of view with production, delivery and management of the project, and also evaluating our own performance and also the performance of how we have implemented this new future. That brings us back to then understanding where are we at that point again. So as I said, today we'll be talking about the current state of the industry and the opportunities that we see with digitization. And we'll also be talking about a potential future state of the industry that we can move towards. So this presentation should be relevant to you if you are a brand selling denim products, if you're a garment manufacturer, or if you're a fabric mill involved in making of denim garments or fabrics. So to give you an overview of what the presentation will involve is that we're focusing mainly today on digital denim laundry design, 3D rendering and animation for marketing, and also innovation in business modeling. So to start all the way at the beginning, with fabric mills and what Darren and Material Exchange has talked about today also, fabric mills has traditionally been involved in producing fabrics. As we see it, there's a lot happening in digitalization, and what Material Exchange is doing is leading a lot of this work, is also then enabling fabric mills to digitize their fabrics. So creating digital materials and also distributing those digital materials to those that are needing it. So to move to the next step to have a look at that, we're now involving brands here and also garment factories into the mix. So when we now have the physical fabrics as traditionally made, and we also now have digital fabrics made, those can be used as brands worked in 3D garment design softwares. Those software could be companies like Clo or Browseware or Optitex, to name a few examples of softwares available on the market. As brands and designers are now working in these softwares, they're able to then create garment tech packs and design the garments that they'd like to produce, and also draw directly from the material libraries to be able to use the fabrics that they eventually go to production with. This can then go to the garment factory and eventually gets to become the final product that the designers and the brand want to produce. To add one more step to this, which is particularly important to the denim industry, is that as we've seen progression in these areas, in denim and in denim design in general, we need to consider denim laundry. And now we're also looking at, traditionally at the top here, we have fabric production, the garment work, and we also have the laundry element in particular denim. If we go down to the digital tools we have here, we now need to look a little bit deeper into digital laundry design and how we can bring this up to digitization to be able to make a complete finished product digitally. So to talk specifically about digital denim laundry design, we're now also in the current situation seeing more maturing laser and ozone and green laundry technology and equipment being available for manufacturers. There's an opportunity now for developing new wash recipes with no or fewer samples. And we also need to see more software solutions that are integrated together with the 3D design and the digital fabric tools that we've talked about. One company that is really doing great work with leading a lot of this is also Genealogia with their laser design softwares, eMark, and how they are now also working both on the equipment and technology side, but also working on software development. And we're also looking forward to be able to see how this and other tools will be more integrated in with the complete garment making and finished product making in a complete digital way. So to expand on this and to go back here, now we've been looking at digital fabrics and then the digital garments and also the digital laundry. This now creates a new opportunity where we can also now add, when we have a digital 3D model, say, of the finished product, before we even then go to production, we can now look at the ability to be able to do digital market testing, or even market testing with using the 3D models that we now have available. We can now test if there's going to be sufficient demand for us to actually go to production with this with the consumers, and we can also determine whether the demand is insufficient so that we need to go back to the drawing board to do this. So to look at one way of how we could approach this is also by using 3D rendering and animation for marketing purposes. Photos and videos are still the main source of marketing materials, and this is not meant to replace that, but more as an addition to it. And 3D just creates an opportunity for new products and developments to be presented to the market much earlier, because we now have them digitally in 3D. We need to have simplified tools that are integrated with the rest of the existing 3D design software to be able to go there. But to show you some examples also of companies that have been doing this for a long time already, is also IKEA as a good example here. They have been building 3D environments and been using their products and 3D models to be able to build out environments that can then seem appealing to their customers and use those 3D renderings specifically in catalogs. Another company that has also been working towards this has been Carlings and in Norway, been able to then take in consumer photos and dress up consumers in their new digital collections of garments. This is, I'm sure for many of you, an example you've heard about before, and there's also companies now like The Fabricant that are also leading a lot of the very cool and exciting work in this specific field. So being able then to use, as we see here, use the 3D models that we have available from having gone through the product development in a complete digital way, we're now able to go to the market and present these products to the market without actually having to produce a final product. And we can try to get this information in on the decision making whether or not to go to production with it. To talk a little bit more about business models and how there's a need also for changing business models. And to give an example of that is, in the current situation, we now forecast demand to deliver very often the wrong product immediately, while sacrificing the people and planet to do so. The opportunity that we see now is also that the demand is changing, and could consumers actually be willing to wait for better products? We also see a need, especially now with the COVID-19 situation, a need for new production financing models. So to give you one example of a company that I've been following for many years that I think is doing very exciting work within this is a brand from California called Taylor Stitch. They are using a crowdfunding model to be able to then develop samples of their products and go out and shoot beautiful marketing materials of these products and nice descriptions and presentations, and publish these from their workshop on their website out here so that customers can pre-buy them for a cheaper price. And then they have a limited amount of time to do that to be able to achieve the funding goals that they need to set for this. One of the nice things about doing this is that we're now able to get direct feedback from the market about what's the demand for these products and get an expectation around the demand, but we're also able to pre-fund the production of these products. And so some of the takeaways that we'd like to focus on after today is that we need to change, and we don't look for solutions from the past for the future solutions. The objective of the supply chain is to meet demand, and we need to collaborate throughout the supply chain to make the best possible end product. Sharing is that collaboration. We need to work together throughout the supply chain. And change starts with strategy, and technology follows. So we don't worry too much about the buzzwords and what everyone's talking about, and we focus more on what's the problems that we have on hand and how do we move into the future direction that we want to go in. And then the technology is already either there or will develop in the direction that we'll need it to. So if you're a solution provider, or if you're ready to start implementing the future and you want to talk more about the roadmaps and start working on the actual implementation of some of these tools, we'd love to talk to you, and would love to work together with the rest of the industry to make this happen. Thank you so much for having us here today, and we're happy to answer any questions if there are any after.
And we have both of them here. Wow. Wow.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey.
Nice to see you, Darren.
And I see you as well.
Jorgen, what time is it for you?
Hi, Andrew.
It's 12:31 in the morning.
12:31 in the morning, yeah. I'm still here.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you both.
Thank you for having me.
Marzia, go ahead and ask questions. I have some too.
Yeah, I actually had questions submitted to me via email, so I'm just going to read it to you, Darren, first. Is the library of materials only for brands?
Actually, no. We do have brands of primary consumers of materials, but we also have factories as well that use materials. They source materials from the suppliers and then use them, obviously, on behalf of brands.
Right, and how is the database maintained for articles that are actually discontinued?
So we have a process which we're improving where the suppliers manage their own material data, and they're encouraged to go in and clean up that data regularly. What they typically do is they upload the new season's materials, and then they're encouraged to go in and clean up anything that shouldn't be there. Eventually, we will set a time limit as well on the material so that there will be a notification to say, do you want to still keep this in the platform or not? Some of the materials we have are kind of, evergreen. They're always going to be there. So, but some are more seasonal.
That's great. Like, I mean, the cleanup of the digital library, I guess, is a little bit easier than the actual ones. And
no recycling required.
And one last question to you, Darren, and then we get over to Jorgen. Do you give rewards to brands for selecting more sustainable materials?
That's
and if so,
question.
In what forms?
It's a very, very good question. So the new platform that we have coming will allow for the choice of materials based on monetary versus impact. So there will be a clear way to see what you're choosing if it's better for the environment, it's more sustainable. And we are looking to gamify that a little bit. There is a kind of education process. We do see that designers in particular pick materials without necessarily fully understanding the implications of each material, and that's where we want to better educate the choices. So gamification would be a way of doing that, and rewards would certainly fall into that category.
Clearly, our Transformer Foundation can help in establishing what is real and what is not real.
Yeah,
I don't know what Darren's going to do in other businesses, but in our business, we'll get our nose in that.
Yeah, very good. Good.
Jorgen.
Andrew, I know that you have a couple of questions for Jorgen, probably.
Yes. Yeah, I do.
Yes.
Jorgen.
Yeah.
Tell us tell us what it is that you think that you can do for a brand or a denim mill that you think they should do.
Well, mainly right now we're working with the denim fabric mills, which is also where my background is mainly from, and where we're focusing most of our work. But we also see, which is something that kind of with what I was talking about earlier, where we'd like to go with this is also to work more across brands and garment factories and denim mills. And we see our role a little bit more as kind of someone that can help to get an overview over the technology that's available. And as I've been talking a little bit to Darren about before as well, is how we can help mills so that implement solutions, for example, like material exchange, or how we can also build technology that can help distribute, capture and digitize materials and make sure that they're making the right decisions that's connect throughout the supply chain, so that we can also communicate from brands to garment factories and also between the fabric mills involvement as well.
And question to both of you guys, how do you find apps, phone apps? And what's your position on them?
Darren, you go first.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
We've been primarily desktop focused. We also for iPad as well, because we are a workflow tool. But what we've seen though is that there's a lot more notifications that will come from our system, and a lot more engagement from the suppliers. So we're actually developing a mobile app, and our new platform is fully mobile ready. It actually is ready, but we're actually going to develop a standalone app as well, because we're seeing the level of engagement from suppliers with marketing their materials, and also dealing with requests from brands is increasing, and that justifies us, having a touch point 24/7 in the hand of some of these suppliers.
Jorgen?
Well, I think generally we also try to work on technology and look at technology like mobile applications more as from what kind of purpose do they serve and how can they help, and I think generally also we spend a lot of time sitting in front of our desktop computers and we can link together mobile applications and what we see on the web or desktop applications. So from our point of view, also we see that mobile device is something that we carry around a lot of the time, and we have the camera that can scan QR codes and can build different functionalities and tools into mobile applications. So we focus more on, when we're developing mobile applications, also focus more on the tools and the things that you need to have available when you're out and around, and then having more comprehensive and complex tools built in web or desktop solutions, so that you can kind of have an integrated solution that spans across different devices.
Okay. And then the last question for both of you, if you want to take it, is when you leave one of these things, you always think as it's over, oh, I should have said that. Is there anything that you want to say before we move to the next presentation? This is the chance.
Yeah, actually, it's like you read my mind. So I was just thinking back on the mobile side again, because we actually developed a hybrid solution for the physical shows where you could scan a QR code for each vendor and see their material collections on mobile. And I completely forgot to say that. And I was thinking, I wonder if there's another opportunity. So thank you for opening that up.
Jorgen?
Well, I think generally it's also, as I mentioned earlier, that I think it's important that we all work together across the supply chain, and where we see ourselves is also kind of someone that everyone can also get in touch with and work with across, if you're not sure where to go with technology or what to do. And we really like to work across the supply chain and to see what kind of technologies are there available and how can we implement things that work kind of from one end to the other. And if anyone has just ideas and want to talk about what's happening, then I'd love to talk to anyone out there.
Yeah, we agree with that. We totally agree. I should mention everybody that I met Jorgen at our Hong Kong show. He was he shouldn't have got in actually based on our criteria for entry, but he managed to get in. And I saw his software at Advance, and he had a phone app with all their collection on it. I was pretty blown away. That was like, what, 2 years ago? Yeah,
I think it was two years ago.
That was pretty awesome, and I've been impressed with his work ever since. Anyway, thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you for staying up so late. Thank you, Darren.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.